This is Friday, February 17th, Workforce Development Board meeting in Des Moines.
Good morning, this is Jean Logan in Sioux City.
Thank you, Jean.
Francis Gunna in Dubuque.
Thank you, Francis. We're calling this to order. Approval of the agenda, please. Okay, do roll call first.
I'm going to go through roll call of the members so we can establish quorum. And I'll start with the voting members first, if you're in the room. Ken Anderson.
Here.
Sally Fall. Sally is in Florida, but she said she's going to try to join us by phone. Dee Vanderhoff.
Here.
Rita Graham.
Here.
Andy Roberts.
Here.
Ken Sager.
Here.
We know we have Francis on the phone.
Yep, here.
Robert Gilmore had sent to me he would not be here today. And Jean Logan is on the phone. And I'll go now to the non-voting members. I did get a message from Drew Conrad.
No, there's a quorum.
Quorum has been established. For non-voting, I got a note from Drew Conrad that he's out of the country. So he will be, Greg Lewis,
Here.
Steve Vogel,
Here.
Gary Steinke, Gur Simpson. Here. Roger Utman,
Here.
Representative Jacoby, Senator Doxler,
President.
Senator Ward, Representative Jorgensen. Representative Jorgensen sent me a note yesterday. He was going to try by phone, but he wasn't sure if he would be able to make it. David Mitchell
Here.
and Debbie Durham sent me a note that Department of Economic Development having their own board meeting today, so she will not be able to attend.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Now we'll move on to approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Oh.
Rita and Ken.
Ken. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving along, we will, who's going first? Mary Lee? Yeah. Okay, approval of the amended November 30th board minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion. Second? Thank you, Ken. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Mary Lou, I see you're getting up and ready to go. Integration and Promise Jobs, virtual access points, updates.
Okay, so we start off with integration. I'm pleased to tell you that the last 2 days I've been in Tacoma, and we have finished the first 2 parts of integration training, which is the initial briefing, and as well as the membership piece, which is the first function of integration. I have given you that schedule in the middle of this handout, so that you can see how we advance in training. I don't think we really ever talked about the amount of time that we spend on training the staff to make sure that they follow the model. We have actually streamlined it a little bit, and because they can job shadow in some of the other offices and see the model, how it works, so we are able to not have quite as much training as what we have in the past, but it's more detailed because we have some experience behind us. Ottumwa is still on schedule for March the 14th to launch. I'm crossing my fingers a little bit on that one because we've had a delay with the phone and data installation. They have promised us the 1st of March. If that happens, which we feel right at the moment is a good date, that we should still be on target. So we will, I just saw the facility yesterday. It is beautiful. So I hope that everyone has a chance to see it. We are planning an open house, but it will be probably May, June, sometime in there. Right. Spencer, they are also advancing. We are trying to get a finalized date as to when that remodel will be completed. Carroll is still kind of on hold. It's my hope that we can combine their training so we can do 2 at once. And I've actually given you on the back of your handout my schedule for getting the rest of the one-stops integrated by the end of this year. Carol will probably be the one that may trip us up, but at this point, I'm still trying to get them into the May timeframe. Marshalltown, we have gotten an estimate back. We are discussing it with Iowa Valley, who is our landlord in Marshalltown, and we're hoping to get that resolved. And if we can, then we will plan on that in August. And if you look at the schedule, it's kind of the end, the middle to the end of August. Davenport, this was the one we didn't think we could do in the current location, but we figured a way out to do it, so we are on target for October in that one. Iowa City is one that is not an integrated center and is not going to be, is not on schedule to do so. We do have an RFP that we just canceled and we're reissuing. So those are where we stand as far as the locations and the field offices. I've also handed out to you the membership stats as well as the digital literacy information from last month. We may talk about this a little bit later, but we are also expanding integration. We started with WIA and we started with IWD, and now we're going into Promise Jobs. Burlington has been our pilot, and they have done a spectacular job as far as incorporating that piece into the model. One of our objectives is to maximize the trainers, and in the past we had trainers for Promise Jobs, trainers for RES, trainers for just regular workshops in skills development. We are now taking this concept. We have a brand new curriculum. It's called 6 Steps. It actually is 7 steps. It's briefing in 6 steps. It goes through the entire process of how to be a successful job candidate. And we are incorporating all the pieces that are needed in all the different programs in that curriculum. We went through and evaluated it. If it was missing, we determined how we were going to fill that gap. And so at this point, we have a trainer that can train for workshops, for Promise Jobs, and for RES. So we are in the process of doing that. Our deadline is next month. We have one that may have to roll back into April, but other than that, we are on target on that as well. The Morel Transition Center is closing in Sioux City at the end of March. It was integrated, and we were serving a targeted population, which was the Morel Packing Center employees. We've had some very good luck, but we're finished. We've made some significant progress, and so they will be closing on the 31st. We also have In-Service Day, which we have 2 days each year for internal staff training, and it could be as much as a tour to look at an employer to learn what they need and how we can help them. In some cases, and some of the agendas that we have 6 steps they're going through, so everyone in the center understands what that program is. We will be closed on the 20th, and then we will be open on the 21st. So that's it for integration update. Any questions? Okay. That's access point.
Thomas Jones behind you, so the director, I'm sure has some information to make. I just want you to give you a brief update that I know that we have shared with you that we're doing a data efficiency analysis of the Promise Jobs program across the state. in each of our regions. There's been a lot of concern that this initiative and this analysis is a precursor to a state takeover, kind of a coup of the Promise Jobs program, and that's not what we're looking at. We're trying to improve the efficiency of a program and looking at how we can provide consistent, effective services for all of our Promise Jobs clients across the state. Promise Jobs has been around since 1989. I know that for a fact because I was one of the original people hired as a case manager. And in that period of time, we've done ongoing quarterly reviews of efficiency, monitoring of progress, but we've never looked at the thing as a whole. And I think it's well overdue because we've discovered some concerns about staff and concerns about how we're using the budget. And we want to make sure that in this era of declining financial resources, that we're putting our money towards serving the clients and making sure that we're sharing resources to the extent possible. So we are in the kind of in the downward phase of collecting all of the data and doing that analysis. Heidi Wicks is our Promise Jobs Quality Assurance Manager, and she's been putting together different pieces of a product that we'll be sharing with all the regions. We'll certainly be sharing that with you as the state board. And then the director and Heidi and myself will be packing up and visiting each region individually to share their individualized report with them and talk about how we can improve the product and improve the services. Or maybe no improvement is necessary, and we're going to look at some, I'm hoping to see some best practices that we can share across the state, because as Mary Lou stated, we've seen great things out of Region 16 bringing those jobs into the integration model. And so we'll certainly want to be talking to them about how they've done that and to share those successes across the state so that we can make sure that the Promise Jobs clients are having the full benefit of the integration model. So, Heidi, is there anything you want to add about the study that you're working on so far?
Other than it's a lot of data that we've already collected, and we combined it into basically one source. So there's approximately 8 to 9 different data sources that we've moved into one, and so we're looking at everything in as a whole. And it's a very daunting task.
It's a challenging program to run. The contract with DHS, we have had essentially flat funding for about 7 years. With the cost of business going up and the resources staying the same, it's the same as taking a cut. So trying to figure out how to manage that money and continue to provide excellent service. The goal of the program is to help people in public assistance achieve independence from their benefits and see them go back to work. And we've had a lot of successes in the 23 years of the program that's continued to run, and we just want to see that continue and maximize our benefits. Teresa, is there anything you'd like to add? Any questions? We certainly will share with you the results of the efficiency study when it's complete, and be available for more questions as we proceed down this path.
I guess I would encourage you to be as open with the folks in the field. I get a few phone calls with concerns about what's going on. The rumor mill sort of gets churning.
I know, and if I
don't know that it's been very well communicated about this process.
if I had a nickel for every time, Ken, that I've said what I said just now, I probably wouldn't be here. So we've continued to say that, but we'll continue to share that message. And Teresa shared that message with the legislature this week, and we continue to share that with the field managers. We want to share with you some updates on our integration, or on our virtual access project, and Ms. Millis is here.
Lauren, can I go back to the Promise Jobs?
Sure, Greg.
Are we subcontracting this with Promise Jobs?
We
So
have
Promise Jobs is doing state employee work?
We have subcontracts in place with partners that run through the end of this June. Those subcontracts have been in place for 23 years. But yes, we currently do, Greg, we're in the downward cycle of a 2-year contract. We're currently in contract negotiation with DHS, but it has been Director Whaler's express direction to me that those subcontracts will run their course And that gets us through the end of June.
If I could add to that, Greg, we have, in the process of going through the program and understanding the program, I believe that we also have some union contract issues that we are addressing currently. I know that Lori and her team and the union team are working together on some of these issues.
Yeah.
And I have been very clear to the legislators as well that wherever these negotiations go, we will follow the union contract under all circumstances, and that may or may not involve some changing of existing subcontracts we have with other providers. So we're working through that process. I know we've had one or two informal meetings. We've had a few with dads so that we can try to get through the understanding collectively as a team, meaning union and union issues and our issues all at the same time. So I do believe we still have a couple of issues we're working on and are not settled, and so that's part of this process as well.
It's great.
I think a couple of issues you're talking about are a couple of possible arbitration.
Yes.
Well, we have, we
And
have.
John Nelson and I are meeting with Ty and Steve Siegel next week as part of our ongoing meetings, and Danny usually attends those meetings as well. Yeah.
I'm very aware of those.
Yes.
Briefed on those.
So-
I'm concerned with gas and the union side of it, because we see quite different opinions.
Correct.
But I was just curious, because we were talking, we talked about providers and DHS. So is DHS a subcontract, or Promise Jobs is a subcontract?
IWD is the contractor. The money comes to DHS. It's federal money through TANF. And then IWD contracts with DHS. And then we subcontract in 14 of the 15 regions. In Region 5, Fort Dodge, IWD is the service provider for Promise Jobs. College opted out of that probably 7 or 8 years ago. Okay.
These work well for now. I just wanted to get some clarity on some stuff.
And we have 3 different provisions of distribution systems. Community colleges are one, community action agencies is the second one, and COGS are a third one besides ourselves. So we have several distribution models that we're trying to work this through.
Well, I'm just wondering, has to, there's got to be some sort of rules and procedures or whatever that follows this money coming out of the feds. And it concerns me that we would have 2 agencies,
Correct.
or DHS and IWD, both working with the same rule and possibly coming, rules and procedures, and possibly coming up with a different way to apply them, or way to follow them, or report them, or whatever. So, and plus stay within the union contracts. So I just was kind of curious as to how that's all being applied now.
Everything is very much, there's no, we're still analyzing data, still looking at information, still working with the union to make sure that we are following a state collective bargaining agreement, applying with existing contracts and
Well, that's not actually
subcontracts.
correct. When you say working with the union, you're working with a committee that was appointed by President Holman to resolve a couple of potential arbitrations. Other than that, we're not hearing where you're working with.
When I mentioned working with the union, I'm working with Ty and Steve and
On
Danny.
those 2 arbitrations that deal with where you replaced our people with Promise Job people. So that's it. So you make it sound like you're working with the union on everything.
I didn't mean to imply that, right? I was stating that I'm working with 2 representatives designated by Danny to work on these issues, the arbitrations, and Mr. Coleman has been part of those meetings as well. Yes, I know.
What was the third? It was community colleges, community action agencies, and what was the third?
Councils of government.
Okay, thanks.
Yes,
Sorry.
we have 4 councils of government, Upper Explorerland, Eastern Iowa Intergovernmental Association, and Region 12 Council of Governments, and Northwest Iowa Planning and Development.
Acronyms throw me
I know.
sometimes. I forget them all, sorry.
Yes.
Francis?
Francis have a question.
It's more of a housekeeping thing. Somebody must be moving papers around right by the speaker there, because every time, all I hear is papers shuffling, and it cuts out the discussion, so it's hard to follow. If you could move that speaker away from whoever's shuffling papers, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, we'll give that a try, Francis.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions about promised jobs? Certainly keep this board, this group apprised as we move forward. We want to give you an update as well on our virtual access point project. As of last, do you have handouts, Mary Lou, or are they always prepared? Francis, I'm moving some papers. Until I can get my stuff in front of me. You have a number of handouts in your packet, and I believe there's some additional information being handed out. You want to detail that now on your updated ones? Yeah. As of last Friday, February 9th, we had 596 sites across the state that represent 1,854 computer workstations. The map that was in your packet was reflective of February 2nd. So we continue to grow. We know as of this morning that we have, I believe, 210 computer workstations have been installed at Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo. And we're finalizing some technical issues that exist at the University of Northern Iowa, where I believe we'll have 486 computer workstations installed as well. Francis, I apologize. I didn't realize you weren't going to be here. I specifically thought of you when I asked Chris to talk about what we're doing in terms of improvement of the virtual access point product. And we'll make sure that you get a copy of the handout that she has. As we work through this project, we discover things are, we just simply forgot something, or a link isn't working, or there's a product that we're not aware of. And so we're constantly adding to the product that you see, and we're fixing some things maybe that were broken and adding things that we didn't even know that existed. And so Chris, as the content manager for several facets of the Access Point project, will share with you some of the things that she's working on that are currently going to be rolled out, I believe, in mid-March. Mark, are you working on those?
He's already got them done. I'm
Okay.
in the testing process.
He's just ignoring me.
Yeah.
Looking at the man behind the camera. So, Chris, if you want to talk about what's coming, that would be great. Yes.
So, we have an update schedule that I've established with IT, so that as we come across sites we want to add to the virtual desktop, as we discover ways to improve it through adding other links that we found. And I get suggestions all the time from people who attend a demonstration. And so we discuss those at a leadership meeting that we have every week. And then I determine, or we determine at that meeting, what things need to be enhanced or improved. And then the document that you have that says that desktop enhancements for March 14th, I actually create this for IT so that they can go through and create the enhancements that we want to include in our next version or next rollout of the desktop. And so on the March 14th release, we've made a number of changes. We added links. Job Central changed its domain name. It's now us.jobs. And so that has been corrected throughout the desktop. I added a page to the job seeker called I Have a Disability, which has several links. And if you look within the document itself, you can see the links that I added. And the I Have a Disability page starts on page 4 of 15. And then you can see I have all of the links there for you of the sites that we added to that particular page.
If I could just mention, Chris, that the Iowa disability piece was really initiated out of a presentation I did with David Mitchell and the governance group, and they provided us a number of excellent suggestions and pointed out that we missed this entire target population. So Dave, this is one of those ongoing enhancements that we see, and we really appreciate your help in putting that piece together.
Thank you for the response.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very see in action.
Very quickly, too.
So that'll come out in March.
Great.
And in addition to some of the sites that were suggested, I also found some others. I worked with with a couple of the people in Lori's division that specifically work with people with disabilities, and they suggested other sites too. So we added quite a few things. We changed some things in I'm a Veteran. We added some links. We added in a skills assessment. I have a plan, and this was one of those moments where I was doing a demonstration to some educational professionals at the Iowa Association of School Boards. It was one of those moments where I went, why do we not have I have a plan in the assessments section? And so, you know, that particular edition came out of that meeting. It was like, oh, we need to have that link there. So we've gotten that. That'll come out in the March 14th release. We've added some links to our community services page. And then our agency has an agency calendar and a job fair calendar, and I wanted to make sure those got added into the virtual desktop too. Yes.
I do have a question. On several of the pages you have listed, it says take our survey.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of questions are on the survey?
There are 5 questions on the survey, and this particular packet doesn't have a copy of the survey, I don't think. But it is in the alert.
Yes, it's right here.
Yep.
It's in the handout, Mary Lou has.
The one that Mary Lou gave us on page 2 of 3.
Very cool here.
There's 5 questions. Did you find the access point services easy to use? And that's a yes/no answer. Have you, were you able, sorry, my eyes are still a little fuzzy. Were you able to access all of the information you were needing? That's a yes/no. Would you use an access point again for workforce services? That's yes/no. And then please rate your overall experience. Then there's an open-ended comment box.
How often do you collect the information from the survey?
Actually, the surveys come into an email box that we monitor daily, and then those get forwarded to me. We haven't had any customers take the survey as of yet, and we have the link on there, and it's also part of our quick links to take a survey. And because we haven't gotten any surveys from customers yet, we also decided that it would be a good idea to have it pop up as an option. And so in the next release, what will happen is when I click on one of the modules and I'm in there for 30 seconds, then the pop-up will come up asking me if I want to take the survey. I have a couple options. I can say, no, I don't want to take the survey and don't bother me with it again, or I can take the survey. So hopefully we'll get some more feedback that way.
And the survey was just implemented recently.
Yes, it was just implemented the last time we did an update in February, or in January.
Anything on the page that says 2-minute short answer survey, anything that would entice them a little bit more to
It
say?
says something about take a short survey, the box that pops
Okay.
up.
So they know it shouldn't take them too long. Short answer might be good. And they can go yes, no.
Right, yeah. Very, and it is, we tried to make it short, that way it was specifically for that.
No, excellent.
So-
Just a question on that. When, did you say you didn't have any responses?
The only responses that we've had so far are the ones that I have submitted in testing the system to make sure that it works.
Well, don't you think that's odd with all the services delivered, thousands of them, that nobody's ever put a survey in there?
It's been out for about, would you say, what, 2.5, 3 weeks, Mark?
Oh, can I talk?
You can always talk.
Well, I'm behind the
Walk
camera.
around and get on camera.
Actually, what we did for the first iteration was to try to ease it in, and it was put on links on the bottom of every screen. And we thought that we should try to do it to make it more bold, mainly from the input that we received from this board. And so the next iteration, or the next version that's actually in test mode, very close to, it'll probably make it before March 14th. The next version we'll have will actually, we don't want to do it as soon as that goes to the opening screen. Let them get into it for a while and start using it. You have to get into it past the second layer. And then it'll pop up and then it'll say, would you like to take a brief survey? And if they choose, no, I don't want to take it at all, then it won't bother them again. And they can close it out. And if they go a little bit later on, they say, I don't want to be bothered again, then it'll come up on a little bit later as they navigate through it. So when you have surveys, there's kind of a balance. If they don't want to take it at all, you got to give them that option. But if they want to, if they have so many windows and pop-ups, as everyone knows, then it gets so complicated that you've got all these windows and all these other things open. So what it does when it goes to a different page, and then after a while it'll come up again as a general reminder. And that was kind of everything is a balance, and that's kind of how we worked it out. But mainly, I think probably the reason why is because it was there, but people are looking for something specific, like I'm unemployed, I'm a job, and we can tell from our statistics, they're not really interested in taking a survey. They're interested in receiving services.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. I know the department's testimony to our Economic Development Appropriations Subcommittee, in response to that, one of the real concerns that was expressed is we really don't know, what's going on with the customer, and do they really feel that they're getting benefit for this tool? Is it easy to navigate? What the problems are. And during the testimony, we didn't hear about anything about any surveys. It just said they didn't have any data. So I'm glad to hear that you already had something going on, but to me, it seems pretty troubling that if we're serving all these people, just knowing human nature, somebody would have clicked on it besides the staff people. And so hopefully you can rectify that, but that's really troubling. We need to really know, what the users are thinking out there, and anything you can do to enhance that would be appreciated.
Let me follow up if I'm following the senator, if I'm understanding. I got this, so we've had 25,697 people viewed pages in the week of February 16th?
No,
And nobody's referred to the survey?
No, that's year to date.
Okay, year to date. Okay, so we had 536, well, that says per day. Okay. And nobody clicked on the survey? I guess I'm curious. I think at least 25% would. If you mail out a survey, you get 25% back. We do, I don't know about you guys, but we do. We mail surveys out to our 40,000 members. We average between 22 and 25% back.
I know.
Now, I'm looking for, well, I don't care what your person says, I'll tell you what mine did. I'm thinking 536 people, at least somebody would have clicked on the survey out of that.
If they found the link, that's why we're making it a pop-up.
Well, if I may continue a little bit, we did find out that with the virtual access points, that the department has no idea who logs on, because when you don't really log on, you connect to these sites. If you actually get into unemployment benefits and something along that line, you would. So we're delivering services to people, or clicks to people, and we don't know who they are. And if we did know who they are, you could mail surveys out. You could have a separate form that could be at least do a sampling of people who worked, entered this system to have a better understanding of what's going on. I know this is a path that the director has chosen to go down, and we want to make sure that this is a tool that really helps Iowans succeed on finding employment and connecting with employers. And so I'm very much interested in making sure that we've got at least an idea of who and what is going on with the user, who's using it, and what they value in the service or don't value. If you don't really have customer feedback, you just can't, you just can't get the kind of results we want to get. And I did find that, and the committee was rather shocked to find out that they have no idea who's logging on. And when we're counting clicks as services delivered, we also found out that services delivered might mean anytime you have trained somebody. So any of the staff that has training is services delivered to unemployed Iowans, and that's what the goal is. Anytime the library staff shows somebody in the building or wherever the access point shows it, that's services delivered. And so, I'd like to get some data that I feel is pretty valuable, that really is real, instead of just these raw numbers about how many people, how many times somebody clicks on something. And the customer surveys, I think, are crucial to really understanding, are they really getting the services delivered that they are looking for, services of value? And I think that we've really got to work hard on that, find out a way, or find out why, when you've got literally thousands of people and you've got pop-ups in your face, that at least a percentage of them would do it. With Greg, I know the labor people probably pay better attention to what's going on and are more concerned when you send surveys out to get answers. And I know that there are other people that might not have that percentage, but you should have something, and that's the real concern.
I just want to clarify, the pop-up isn't scheduled to roll out until
Oh,
March.
so we didn't have a pop-up.
Right.
Even
The
have-
survey was there, but the
They
pop-up.
had to search to find the survey.
You had to
and
search to find the
Because we
survey.
were not getting anything, we then said, we need to make this more available.
Well, that makes a lot more
That
sense.
makes a lot, yeah, that clears, because I think in pop-up. if
Yeah,
you
no,
get
the pop-up
somebody,
is-
1 out of 10 is gonna say, okay.
Correct.
Right.
You
The
have the
pop-up is
same reaction
scheduled.
we had to the data, because we were not getting any surveys back in. So we said we have to make it more obvious to people to fill something out, and that's when we said that.
Yes, I don't know if you even want to get involved, but there are statistics for those that do the chat, and when I'm monitoring, of course, I can't give any confidential information or anything, but when I monitor the systems, I do see a lot of people say, thank you very much, and you can explain some of that, and then also some call right on their cell phone. The numbers pop up when they want that, and so what we were trying to look for is the most or least intrusive way, and it was so least intrusive that we weren't getting any responses. So as we ease into this, I think that that's in the March 14th release, and I think that we'll probably be up before March 14th.
I'm hoping, yes.
When the people call in, do you actually run these questions by them? No, if you do have people that call in, do you run the 5 questions by them and take a quick survey, or you just say?
We haven't. That's something we can consider. But there's a couple of ways people can get in touch with us: over the phone, through the live chat feature, and then through an email. Email link. I can leave an email.
So when you do the live chat thing, does it identify not so much who the person is, but user number 125 or something?
What we
is
ask-
there some kind of way to track if the same person's contacting you a lot, or?
What we ask for in order for someone to use the live chat feature is their name and an email address. That way, if we have to get in contact with them later, we at least have an email address that we can try to do that. And I have, as I review those chats, we may have the same person asking questions, different questions, sometimes the same question 2 or 3 times over the course of a week's time. So, or however long it is that they can use the.
So these numbers that reflect the week ending average use per day, is there any correlation between how many actual individuals these are, or how many pages, or how many times? If I go on there, 3 times during the course of a week and look at 20 pages each time, is that 60 uses?
I'll let.
Yes, we're looking at services only, so if I sat down and looked at 10 different services, it would say 10.
Okay.
If 10 people sat down and looked at one service apiece, it would say 10. So until we identify people, we don't know them.
So you don't know if the 536 number is anything other than 536 clicks?
Exactly, that's 536 services.
Okay.
Mr. Francis, is there any way to identify in the system now, if I go into a service center and I sit down in front of a computer and use it in a service center, or if I'm out in a library, let's say someplace out in Sioux County?
Yes, these virtual access points do not come up in our integrated sites. They're only out in the public.
Okay, so if I'm a person, I come into a service center and I sit down in front of the computer, it says that that isn't included in the numbers
these.
talking about, right?
Not in these. There's different statistics for those, but not in these statistics.
Mary Lee, you want to mention the survey that's done when people leave the integrated center?
Yes, and we have a half
Stand up,
page.
stand up.
We have a half-page survey when they go through integration, and it comes in the packet that we give them initially. And part of the model is we remind them to fill out that survey, and we do review it every day.
What kind of return rates do you get?
We get, well, initially, we get very high rates. We get 40 or 50 a day if we have that many people coming through. It starts to taper off after they come back because they've done it once. Well, we do have statistics on that, but they're all handwritten. We have to key them in to give them to them, but I can keep copies of some of them. And the offices keep them too. They review them in their staff meetings in the morning. And we get compliments on specific people because we have name badges with names on them. We give them their name and they compliment people because of that, which is a good thing for the staff as well.
Well, I think, well, first of all, let me apologize for the dress code. By the way, Iowa City West is in 3rd place. And the teenagers behind me informed me that funnel cakes are indeed health food.
Eggs in them somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right. From a little different angle on the customer surveys, I think customer surveys are what the board is looking at for some benchmarks for the way the services are being delivered. But quite frankly, customer surveys are a heck of a way to get workers and clients engaged from the get-go. In other words, when you have that benchmark in front of you on your name tag for the workers we have left and the volunteers that are coming in, it also gives you a point of reference to work with a person or a family. Now here's what, in the old days, or when it's simpler, you want to simplify any survey. I don't want to see any pop-ups. When I see a pop-up, I say a word that rhymes with truck. I don't want to move, I don't want to click on and start doing all this. What I want to do is have something on the initial service that I'm looking at the bottom of that 8 by 11 page, not scroll down, something right there. How do I feel about today's service? Right there. Yes, no. No more than 5 questions. You make it 3. Surveys, you're lucky if you get a 0.06 response rate 2. Sometimes, well, quite frankly, if we're getting 25,000 hits, that's 1,500 surveys we should have in front of us. If that's how many hits we're getting, even at 6%, that's 1,500. So that's one benchmark I want to look at is if we're getting 50,000 hits, then I would think even at a very low rate of 6%, we have almost 3,000 surveys to take a look at. They don't have to be complicated, simple. And what I saw in my old work days is that it actually fired up workers too. I mean, people were more engaged going, I know right away when I talk to Ken, he's gonna fill out a 3-question thing on how I did today. So am I gonna be nice to Ken? Well, I won't be nice to Ken. But I would be nice to Ken.
Is this a survey that I'm taking right
Yeah, right now, should they be reelected? But I mean, that's what personally I'm looking at for the surveys. And I think we need them sooner than later to give us a benchmark of the direction we're going. And one of the reasons why, I'm going to say something good and then something bad. Something very good about the access points, for instance, is the DVIP Center in Iowa City. The Domestic Violence Shelter appreciates it, and it's very helpful for people that are lodged there. They have the immediate service, they can start planting seeds. The negative part is they don't have the staff in it goes to volunteers. So some of the families that are PJ families will have 3 different volunteers during their stay at the DVIB, because the volunteers are college students or maybe even a librarian, but they come in and there's no consistency for them. So if I'm at the shelter, I'm telling my story, and this is the information I got at least 3 times. They're getting in with a new volunteer. So that's why I think we need to look at that face-to-face in a different way. But for me, those, when we have people fill out or tell us how we're doing, give us an honest viewpoint, then that's what I'm looking for. I want to hear what the customers say, clients, businesses, and I haven't heard from any businesses yet, so if there's, and I'm glad here it's coming out in March, but please make it simple. I mean, in the old WIA, it was half a form. And the minute you sign on to something, that's the first thing it says. Thank you for accessing our service. We will have it. Please fill out a performance or whatever you want to say there so they know it right up front.
I'm finished unless anyone else has any questions for me.
This is Francis Jenner again. When looking at this map, I kind of took a look at it, and I still have some concerns about some of the counties where we only have one virtual access point or one workstation. Have you taken a look at the population base there and the unemployment rate in that county, and figured out what a target number of virtual access points or workstations that would be reasonable to serve that population?
We have, Francis, and I think that this is Teresa, and we've been watching that pretty closely because you have brought this up before in previous board meetings. I think what will really assist us going into the future is that since we are having a rollout in all of the high school districts this year, that kind of situation will only grow. So we will only be adding probably access points. And of course, the unemployment situation, you know, as you know, it depends where you go throughout the state, but the northwest areas of the state have very, very low unemployment population, and actually we're working with several companies who need employees and can't get them fast enough because they do have a churn within their organization. So if you talk about Humboldt and Palo Alto and Clay and some of those counties have a lower rate. But I can't say that for Ringgold as an example, or Davis. And so we are continuing to encourage our staff to really go to areas that we think are underserved just based on the numbers perspective. And so we do have a highlight on that as we work through adding access points.
What's the
You
difference?
care to share those numbers, what kind of numbers you're talking about, and where the areas of focus are? Obviously, I agree with you 100% that we got some issues in those southern tier counties.
Right. Well, what we do is we overlay the unemployment statistical map by county, and I would be more than happy to distribute that every month when it comes out, so you can actually see by county how the unemployment rate matches or doesn't match, how many access points or workstations we have within those same counties, and maybe that will help as well to understand the diversification of our unemployment rates throughout the state. For instance, I'm pretty excited about Lee County right now. I'm really hopeful they'll get their new plant that I know they're vying for, because Lee is always a county that is among the highest in the unemployment ranks, and of course we have 33 workstations there, but that's not necessarily nearly enough because of the high unemployment rate that they have there. So we continually focus on our counties that have higher than average for our state unemployment rates and try to find ways to distribute more access points out in those locations. But would you all like to get monthly? I'd be happy to send out the unemployment rate by county. It's a map that looks up very much like this one, but it has unemployment rates on it. That number usually comes out around the 20th or 21st of every month, and then if you give us an extra day or so, the map follows it, so we take it down by county level, and I'd be happy to make that, you folks, a regular distribution on that if you would like. Okay.
Good. Teresa?
Yes.
I think that'd be great. I would do it electronically like you do with the, the weekly unemployment figures. I wouldn't go killing any trees just to send that out. But again, the other thing, of course, is obviously the population in Lee County, the example that you used, the actual population base is a lot higher than the population base in Ringgold.
Right.
And so even if the unemployment rate, let's say, was 6% in each one of those counties, the actual number of people unemployed in those counties would be considerably different.
Correct.
So it's not just the unemployment rate, it'd be the actual population base there, because I know some of those counties down there, we're talking about 2,000 to 4,000 total people in the whole county.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not just the rate, it'd be the unemployment rate compared to the total population. So what I'm concerned about is I look at Polk County and I see 38 virtual access stations, but of course the population is quite a bit larger, and also you got a service center there, so that makes a hell of a difference when you're talking about serving that population. So you have to take all those things into consideration when you're looking at that. But I was just wondering if you had some target areas that you were already focused on.
Francis?
Yes.
Polk County, with our update as of today, has 104 virtual access points.
Oh, okay. I don't have the handout. I just got the mail out here.
Right.
Well, this was just printed on the 15th.
Right.
So.
We didn't have an updated one when we sent out the board packet, so we were just...
Right. But for my purposes, it might look like there's a lot there, but when you take a look at the actual population base and then the percentage of unemployment that's in that county, that we're talking about hugely different numbers.
That's right. You're accurate.
Thank you.
I don't know if you know Sally Bob is on the line. I just wanted to let you know I've been on for a while.
Hi, Sally. I heard the beep.
Okay.
Yes, Senator.
Just a question. Did we on the updated sheets roll in some of the high schools that have been coming online for virtual access points?
I believe there are 15 high schools. I would assume they're on this map.
I don't know if we had all of them on there, because we
got several.
Okay, well, the reason I ask that is, you know, here's some more data that it's nice to see these numbers, but don't mean a lot to me for the public access, because if you're talking about a high school, are we encouraging the public to walk in our public schools and get on whatever access points? I don't think we are. We're trying to work with the population within the school. And how many of these are in, where are the facilities located? You know, does the general public aware of them? So if we're in a, you know, a soil conservation area office, those are the people who are probably going to access it. So how can I determine, you know, what the value of these numbers are? So I guess maybe we need to have another sheet that would have a listing of where they're at. And my question would be is, how are we letting the public know where these access points, or are they just finding them because they're in these facilities? You got that list there? Okay, it's in the back. All right, that helps. Now, what about the public?
We have it listed on our website. So if you go to iowaworkforce.org and you go to this whole section on access points, there is you can click on a link and get this list, and you can also click on a map and put in your zip code, and it will give you the list of access points closest to your location.
Okay. All right, well, let me just carry this a little bit.
In connection with Bill's question, I was wondering, do the high schools promote the general public walking in, because you have to really watch who walks in?
No, actually, in our, we have been working with the ADAs and the Department of Education on this, and using their advice in how to roll this out, because there are so many high school districts, and we have high schools as a limited population because they target their students or the parents and students, and we honor their targeted population as well as their times of operation, the superintendents and the principals and the AEAs are helping us define what that is, and we are in turn sharing that information. So we will have high schools listed as they come up as a limited access to the public, and by limited, we then define what that is for students or for parents, and so we're very explicit on that as far as any advertising or listing on the website for each of those points.
And Teresa, I would assume that would have to be true in a high school situation.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Just
if I could add, I know that Director Glass did send a letter out to the school districts, letting them, making them aware of this service to students and parents.
We appreciate that, Roger.
Okay, just one more comment that I have as concern. You say that we can find it on the website, but we had testimony in the subcommittee dealing with people who are accessing educational programs. And according to the data that they provided us, that a third of the people that they have contact, or a third of the people who need services, were classified as electronically challenged or basically illiterate to how to operate computers. So I asked them where they got the information. They said it was from Iowa Workforce Development. So you have information saying that there's population out there, about a third of this survey group, of which there were 8,000 some, that there's a third of them that have digitally challenged. And so how are we getting to those if they got to go to the very computers to find out where workforce development operates? Do it, you know, we offering a marketing campaign, or is our plan for that? I find that troubling, because as the one who's worked in the industry, it's the hardest to serve that we really got to move. You know, you really spend most of your time on, and I just feel like they're kind of sliding off the plate here.
I'm glad you said that. It's the hardest to serve, because the information, our pool of information that we get those digital literacy statistics from, are the people that are coming into the one-stops. And so they are our hardest to serve that are coming in to get the assistance with using the computer.
And one of the beauties of partnering with the libraries is that the libraries actually have keyboarding and classes right there on site as well. So if they notice it and observe it, they can suggest it as well as the colleges and some of the other ones. It's one of the reasons why we did what we did.
Well, and I might add additionally, that we know that's a challenge to the population. And we also had a great conversation yesterday with Steve and Kirkwood Community College, and I know will be part of the community college process as to how to specifically focus and describe some digital courses to encourage that population to participate at the community college level and on all the campuses, because they are too everywhere in the state of Iowa, to help close that gap. And I think we're going to have that challenge in our population for some time. But part of this is also to help us in the next generation so we don't have that same challenge. Some of the professionals in education would tell us that while we may all think that the coming generations are very digital literate because they have texting and phones and communications and so on, they're probably very literate at that, but they don't know how to use an Excel spreadsheet online, or they don't really know how to use the tools that a business might require them to use to have a job. And we're hopeful that by introducing the technology and business expectations into high schools, they will have an earlier thought pattern about they need to learn these kinds of skills. So that's really another partnership with education that we're working on.
Well, I'm glad you're working on it because, it's a deep concern of mine, and I know that these people need extra help. And, sitting in the legislature, we hear from our fellow legislators, a lot. And one of the areas is libraries were mentioned in trying to help people. And I know librarians do try to help people. One of the things that we're hearing from the education committee chairs is that they're receiving letters from librarians who are very upset that they're spending too much time trying to help workforce system, people access the system. And the chairman was supposed to give me some of those letters before he left town, and I missed connecting with him to give possibly some specific examples. But what they're saying is that the librarians are used to helping the children and the people that come into the library access stuff and helping them with reading and helping them with the what you traditionally believe libraries are going to do. And now they're being, to paraphrase what I was told, being pulled away from that because there's continued questions about how to work the system or where to need to go to access that. And it's pulling away from what libraries were what they view their primary function. So when we have people who are digitally illiterate and they don't have a way to get that help, I know they said they came in the one-stops. Well, we lost our network out there in the rural areas, and people are driving farther and farther to get to these one-stops. It's an area, Director, we really got to work on because this system, in my opinion, right now, is really failing that target population. And so I'm just passing that on. I want the board members to know and understand that there are major problems in our libraries with the help that people are trying to access, and that it's an area we need to work on.
Some of the things that I'm encouraged by is, number one, that the hard to serve are coming into the one-stops. And what I'm very encouraged about is the numbers of people who can handle the internet and do all of this are not clogging the system for those who walk in. The second thing that librarians have an opportunity to do is to use the hotline. They can call right there while they're sitting looking at this computer, and it's an 800 number, and they can be walked through if they're just sort of on the brink of handling how to use the website. So I think we've got some real positive things that are happening here. We just don't necessarily have confirmation on those yet.
Well, Chairman, you missed my point. My point was the librarians are complaining because they're taken away from their traditional job and asked to do something in basically a volunteer way. And getting on another website and trying to figure out how to work it is taking them away again. And that's, I'm not just saying that this is what I'm hearing from other senators, and they're getting letters to the budget committee because they're cutting the library in the new budgets. Libraries are being cut again in state government. They have less resources also. And so we got a clash here. We're asking libraries to do more. The legislature, and it's not your fault, it's not Workforce Development's fault, the legislature isn't putting the resources into libraries they used to.
Perhaps we need
so
to.
we've got a real issue.
I think we need to make sure that our librarians recognize that the helpline is there and offer that up front to these folks when they are in there, that it isn't the librarian's job to walk them through everything that's going on there. So,
are you getting a different story? Are you getting a different story than you're getting from the librarians?
Actually, yes. We take many librarians with us to other locations so they can describe the experience that they have. They're very positive about traffic, that it seems to have an uptick, and they're positive about having traffic into the libraries. But what I would suggest is, I know that it's not perfect, and what I would like to get is a copy of all the letters, so we can go back, and in those areas where we have those issues, we want to address those issues. So, Senator, if you wouldn't mind, I would really ask that you share whatever you received from those folks, so we can go back and work
I'll
that.
talk to the senator about it, yes.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
If I may, I'm listening to this, and somewhere along the line, I believe we were told, or at least I was told, I have a recollection, that these people weren't going to be replacing union jobs, state worker jobs. These librarians are not state employees.
Correct.
Well, and all of a sudden they're walking people through this program?
No, they are not.
Well, that's what I'm hearing.
Well,
so, I mean, they're calling helplines for people, they're showing them how to navigate this website. That's what a state employee did. So now, once again, I see in my mind, and somebody better clear it up, where state employees are being shoved out, we're not getting our jobs, which apparently is going away because we do have layoffs, and we got other people out here doing the job, which last time I looked is a direct violation of collective bargaining agreement. And I pretty well know that by heart. And I got some real concerns if this is exactly what I'm hearing is librarians are going over there and doing, well, you got to do this, and you got to click this, and you got to click that. That's what we did on a person-to-person basis, and that's what we're losing with this satellite stations. You probably have wondered, that's what they really are. They're unpaid satellite stations. And if we're losing jobs over this, because we got volunteers or some nice person somewhere that says, oh, let me help you, and we got a real problem, because all along I've seen the senator shake his head, and I believe Ken's going to say it, we were always told this isn't going to interfere with state jobs. And now I'm hearing that we got layoffs out here, and I got people doing our jobs. So, yeah, I'm very, from what I just heard, really hit a nail. I better hear something opposite of that really quick, because you got 2 arbitrations now. I think you just walked into a 3rd. So somebody better clear it up.
Any other questions? Then I think it's time to move. You've got one more?
After the last state board meeting, I know there was some concern and questions about how we supported the people that were the hosts of our virtual access sites. So I tried to put up a handout to provide you what kind of training we do with our host sites. And the alert, which is the attachment, because we felt very strongly that once we put a host, an access point out in the field, that we don't walk away, that we don't, that,
Sorry about the noise, we're all shuffling papers.
it has a little map on the front of the center. Okay. That we didn't forget the host sites and we wanted to keep them updated because as you can tell, Chris is doing enhancements all the time and we didn't want, we helped provide training up front, which is actually the webinar schedule on the back page of your attachment. But then once we inform them of that, they don't connect with us on a regular basis. So our goal was to make that happen. So whenever we release a new enhancement into Virtual Access, we send out what we call an alert. And I put a sample of that in here. It goes through and talks all about the changes in the system, so they're updated, so they can answer the questions quickly if they have any. And also, it walks you through. We also inform the user if there's a change coming up, something new, so they don't have to ask questions. And down at the bottom, we've added some like email enhancement options. On the second page where it shows the survey, right now this is where it's kind of buried in the bottom of the footer on each page, which is why we thought we should do the pop-up. But that's how the survey is right now out in the field. And then the back page is a sample of some of the skills profile that we're using, some additions, some new enhancements. So we wanted to keep them updated, and this is the tool, and I personally send them the emails, and I do have some feedback from them, so I'll be glad to share that with you if you want as well. The number 3 point on the front cover is the map that we had, the interactive map. We now also have the listing that we provided in the packet, and it is a link right above that map, so you can click on that and see the detail that we provided you in the hard copy. We also want to make sure that we are providing assorted kinds of categories of host sites so that everyone has access to Virtual Access. We started putting in categories, and the categories listed under number 4 are now added into the system. We added them about a month ago, and we're going to start analyzing that we make sure and have those different kinds of services in each one of the regions. We do also follow-up calls on brand new access points. We follow up a month afterwards and call the host site, ask them how they feel about the access point, if we can help them. One of the things we got back as a request is that we wanted more media coverage, and Carrie is working on that so that on a regular basis we get out to the public where the sites are, and so that they have that information as well. And then again, I included the webinar schedule that we have for anybody that's a brand new host.
I do the webinar, and there's a link on the schedule page. And if any of you would like to attend the webinar to see what I do when I demonstrate and what I tell our potential access points and our access point hosts, I'd invite you to go ahead and register for one of the times and attend.
Any questions? Hearing none, I think we are ready to look at the IWD budget review. Kelly?